Hello, English 3 Honors students. Here are the assignments that you missed. This is all preparation for selective reading of The Crucible, a play by Arthur Miller. We'll be reading this through the lens of exploring argument. Wanted to draw your attention to the fact that it will be 6 pages. The first 2 pages are a historical document that I think you'll enjoy. It's from a minister, a Puritan minister who wrote about the Salem witch trials. Your selection includes the first 2 slides, and it's titled The Trial of Martha Carrier. What I'd like you to do with this document is go through and make notations for all of the evidence that you find which the Puritans used to condemn Martha Carrier of being a witch. Now, you might remember in class the activity that we did, all of the crazy things that people in the community could use to accuse their neighbors of witchcraft. Some of those things included, perhaps you had a rivalry and you were arguing about something inconsequential. If you took it far enough, you could actually accuse your opponent of being a witch, and chances are they would get drawn into this long process and perhaps lose their lives. One thing it's important to note about the witchcraft trials is that if you confessed that you were a witch and named other people, you would not be condemned to die. Now, clearly there's a lot you can infer from that. And the question becomes, how much do you value your name and your honesty? And also, to what ends would you go to save your own skin? Okay, here's an example of how I'd like you to annotate this short text. You'll notice that the paragraphs are numbered with Roman numerals. So very quickly, I just wanted to show you what those are. They are here, Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3. All you need to do for your annotations are, again, go through each of these chunks and think about what evidence is being presented to prove that Martha Carrier's a witch. I'll model on the first paragraph. Martha Carrier was indicted for bewitching certain persons according to the form usual in such cases, pleading not guilty to her indictment. There were first brought in a considerable number of the bewitched persons, who not only made the court sensible of any horrid witchcraft committed upon them, but also deposed that it was Martha Carrier, or her shape, that grievously tormented them by biting, pricking, pinching, and choking of them. It was further deposed that while this Carrier was on her examination before the magistrates, the poor people were so tortured that every one expected their death upon the very spot, but that upon the binding of Carrier they were eased. Moreover, the look of Carrier then laid the afflicted people for dead, and her touch, if her eye at the same time were off them, raised them again, which things were also now seen upon her trial. And it was testified that, upon the mention of some having their necks twisted almost round by the shape of this Carrier, she replied, "It's no matter, though their necks had been twisted quite off." Okay, lots going on in that paragraph. First thing to note is that we're talking about the trial itself and a parade of people who claimed that they were victimized by her were marched into the courtroom and talked about their afflictions. So if you're talking about the evidence against Martha Carrier in that paragraph, you're really talking about witness testimony. So the textual evidence for witness testimony is considerable number of bewitched persons made the court sensible of the crimes upon them, and also indicated that Martha Carrier was, or her shape, was the one tormenting them. And then here's some of the evidence for what that torment was: pricking, pinching, choking them. So all you need to do in that paragraph is witness testimony, and then some of the things that they accused her of: pricking, pinching, choking, so tortured that they expected their death at any moment. They also seem to be pointing to the power of her look and the power of her touch. So obviously those would be kind of creepy witch-like things if she had that much power over them. And the last piece of evidence is that some claim that their necks were almost twisted all the way around. All right. Now, the second thing you want to pay attention to when you're annotating is, are there any warrants in that paragraph? So we found all kinds of evidence against her. It's all witness testimony. It's all individual testimony. But do you see any warrants? The only warrant that we find in that paragraph is their claim that it was indeed Martha Carrier or her shape that tormented them. So we will be talking about evaluating that warrant. Is it enough? Is it enough to prove that Martha Carrier is a witch and that she caused all of these unusual manifestations of pain and misery on them? All right, so you'll proceed through slides 1 and Roman numeral 4, Roman numeral 5, and Roman numeral 6, and finish that annotation. You do not have to worry about that bottom paragraph. When you're done with that, you will proceed to slides 3 and 4 and continue. Now, you will not be making your annotations on this slide. You'll just download and print the PDF and make all of these annotations on your copy of the PDF. These slides are just my instructions to you, so you know how to complete this classwork. All right, so you can either go ahead and do that now while my instructions are fresh in your mind. If you do so, hit pause and come back to this when you're finished, and we'll talk about slides 3 through 6. All right, hit pause now. All right. I hope you didn't have any trouble with that last assignment. We got about halfway through this assignment, and we will continue on Monday. All right, this is a dramatic reading, a way for you to listen to and understand the major characters in the play. The way we did this in class is everyone had a random number, and you were assigned to one of these characters on this list. Then we called everyone who was assigned Reverend Paris, for instance, character number 1, came up to the front of the room, and each student read each of these lines of dialogue. The instructions were to really own your character. Think about this like an audition situation where you are auditioning for a role. So take some time to prepare, to familiarize yourself with the verbiage. There are 1 or 2 words you're going to want to know how to pronounce, beginning with licentious. Licentious means sexually deviant. The second word students had trouble pronouncing is the name of this second character, Tituba. Tituba lives in the house of Reverend Paris. He brought her up from Barbados. She is a slave, but she's living in his house, and you're meant to infer that slaves who live in the house are generally the beautiful females who the male white owners then proceed to develop illicit relationships with, often resulting in offspring. So chances are they're having a sexual relationship. Tituba has a position of power because she's brought into the house. She is a beautiful woman, but there is a power dynamic there you need to be aware of between Paris and Tituba. He does not treat her like he would treat a wife. Okay, so take a moment, pick any of the characters on his character notes. He seems a little concerned about what other people think. He is cruel to Tituba. He threatens her. He's a little bit whiny. Why would God choose my house to strike? And then he kind of caves in when, and you don't know who Rebecca is yet, but when the nurse shows up, he's really shows how devastated he is. So the question for Reverend Paris, slide 3 or 4, and try to dramatically read those lines as though you are that character. When you're done, hit pause, and we'll come back to this demonstration. We'll move on to slides 5 and 6. All right. If you go back and look at, is he more logical? Welcome back. Now, while classmates were delivering their dramatic readings of their 3 character lines, all other students were working through this note-taking chart. As you can see, each character has the same 4 boxes on this graphic organizer. Now, sorry, I want that to disappear so you can see this. As you're listening to your classmates read, and if you are back in school on Monday, you will see this in person. As you're listening to your classmates read, we talk about what that character might be like. Now, consensus was that there is enough information in those 3 lines to give you enough meat to make inferences, to take what you know about human nature and infer what each character is like. You can jot your notes in this section as you're listening. Then we talk together about what that character might be motivated by. Reverend Paris, for instance, or more emotional. What is he motivated by? What do you think, what role do you think he'll have in this play? Will he be a voice of reason? Will he be a catalyst for, or kind of, a catalyst is just a thing that it acts like a fuel on the fire. So take all of those notes here. You can either go through all of these alone and pick up where we left off in class, or if you're out of school for 10 days, I'll expect you to complete all of these character notations before you return. And thank you very much. Bye.